The emergency beacon pierced through the silence of the Galactic Academy's Eastern Dormitory at Auto 300 hours. Cadet Instructor Velmuth's three hearts seized in synchronized panic as the bioscanner registered the impossible. Elena Reeves, the only human in the entire institution, was missing from her quarters. Within minutes, the hallway flooded with cadets from a dozen species, Velkari with their luminescent skin casting worried shadows, insectoid Threx clicking their mandibles in distress, and even the normally stoic Kranathi abandoning their meditation chambers. But it was the reaction from the predator wing that sent true fear rippling through the assembled students. The Jatar cubs, three juvenile members of the galaxy's most feared apex predator species, had gone absolutely silent. Rex, the largest of the three cubs, stood perfectly still outside Elena's door, his obsidian scales gleaming under the corridor lights. His siblings, Nova and Kess, flanked him in a defensive formation that made even Velmuth hesitate. These weren't the playful younglings who had arrived at the academy 6 months ago. These were predators in full alert mode. "Step aside," Velmuth commanded, though his translator trembled. "We must search for the human," Rex's golden eyes fixed on the instructor. When he spoke, his voice resonated with an ancient authority that belied his youth. "No." The simple word carried weight that made several cadets step back. Nova's tail swept low across the threshold of Elena's door while Kess positioned himself to cover the ventilation shaft above. The very shaft, Velmuth realized with dawning horror, that led to the maintenance tunnels beneath the academy. "Explain yourselves," Velmuth demanded, trying to maintain composure. "The human is missing." "Protocol requires—" "Elena is not missing," Rex interrupted, his claws extending slightly. "She is hunting." The word sent a collective gasp through the assembled students. Hunting? Humans didn't hunt. They were classified as persistence predators, yes, but they were also categorized as social pack builders, diplomats, the soft species that had somehow talked their way into the Galactic Council. The idea of a human hunting in the dark corridors of the academy was absurd, yet the Jatar cubs hadn't moved from their posts. Velmuth accessed his neural implant, pulling up Elena's file. Human, female, age 19 standard years. Specialty: xenobiology and cross-species relations. Threat assessment: minimal. The file showed a smiling face with strange binocular eyes and a mouth that curved upward in what humans called a smile. That smile now seemed far more predatory in hindsight. "Explain," Velmuth repeated, though he was no longer certain he wanted to know. "Kess," the smallest cub, spoke up, his voice carrying an odd note of reverence. 3 cycles ago, the maintenance drones reported a nest of Skrell parasites in the lower tunnels. The administration said they would handle it. They didn't. The Skrell were spreading, Nova added, her spines rattling, moving toward the dormitory levels. "We could smell them." "So could she." Rex's gaze never wavered from the corridor ahead. "Last night, Elena asked us questions. About our hunting techniques. About pack tactics. About how we track prey in darkness." His mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. "We thought she was curious for her xenobiology studies." "We were wrong," Kess whispered. She wasn't studying. She was learning. The pieces fell into place with terrifying clarity. The thermal signatures in the maintenance tunnels. The unusual requisitions from the chemistry lab that Elena had filed. The training hours she'd logged in the combat simulation rooms, which her instructors had dismissed as a human quirk. Their species' odd fascination with physical preparation. She hadn't been preparing for simulations. "How long has she been gone?" Velmuth asked quietly. 6 hours, Rex replied. "We've been guarding her quarters since she left, so no one would panic." His eyes finally shifted to meet Velmuth's. "And so we would be here when she returns." "Returns?" A Threx cadet chittered nervously. "From fighting Skrell? Those parasites are classified as deadly to most species. They hunt in swarms, A sound echoed from the ventilation shaft. Not the scuttling of Skrell, but footsteps. Slow, measured, deliberate. The cub's posture shifted instantly, not to aggressive, but to welcoming. Elena Reeves emerged from the darkness of the shaft covered in synthetic gel and blue Skrell ichor, her dark hair matted with sweat. A makeshift spear fashioned from a support beam held loosely in one hand. Her face bore scratches and the beginning of what would become impressive bruises. But her eyes, those binocular predator eyes, gleamed with satisfaction. "Oh," she said, taking in the crowd of assembled cadets and instructors. Hey everyone. Sorry about the mess. The Skrell nest was bigger than I thought. She glanced down at herself. I should probably shower. Belmoth found his voice, though it emerged as barely a whisper. You went into the tunnels, alone, to hunt Skrell? Elena shrugged, the gesture somehow more threatening than any Jatar battle stance. Someone had to. They were getting close to the dorms. She looked at Rex and his siblings, her expression softening into something warm. Thanks for holding down the fort, guys. And for the hunting tips. The pack coordination techniques really helped. She moved toward her door and the cubs parted respectfully, Rex dipping his massive head in what could only be described as a bow. As Elena disappeared into her quarters, Velmoth stood frozen, his understanding of humans fundamentally shattered. The other cadets began to disperse, whispering among themselves. But the Jatar cubs remained at their posts. You knew, Velmoth said to Rex. You knew what she was going to do. Rex's golden eyes gleamed with something that might have been pride. Instructor, we are apex predators. We recognize our own. He settled into a resting position outside Elena's door. Humans pretend to be soft. They smile and negotiate and build bridges between species. And everyone forgets. Forgets what? Velmoth asked, though part of him already knew the answer. That they climb to the top of their food chain not with claws or venom or armor, Nova said softly, but with nothing but determination, intelligence, and the absolute refusal to back down from a threat. Kess completed the thought. They are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy, because they hunt not for survival, but for those they've chosen to protect. Inside her quarters, Elena Reeves collapsed onto her bed, exhausted but satisfied. Tomorrow she'd file her report. Tomorrow, the Academy would probably lecture her about proper protocols and chain of command. Tomorrow she'd smile and apologize and play the diplomatic human everyone expected. But tonight the Skrell nest was destroyed. Her fellow students were safe. And outside her door, 3 of the galaxy's most fearsome predators stood guard, not as protectors but as equals. Sometimes, Elena thought as sleep claimed her, the best way to make friends across the galaxy was to remind them that humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through kindness alone, but through the ancient primal code that all true predators understood. Protect the pack, eliminate the threat, and never ever back down. The cubs would understand. They always did.